My brother didn't tell his boyfriend about his disability. I told him, and now everyone says I crossed a line.
Wow. I mean, talk about dropping a grenade in the group chat, right?
Oh, absolutely a grenade. Today, we are dissecting that exact grenade. We're looking at this incredibly emotional dispute, sourced directly from a massive thread on Reddit's AmItheAsshole.
Yeah, that particular corner of the internet is, well, it's essentially a massive crowdsourced moral court.
Exactly. People submit their absolute messiest real-life conflicts, and the public just acts as the jury to decide who is in the wrong.
And they do not hold back.
They really don't. And our mission today is to explore the specific submission because it sits at this incredibly messy intersection. We're looking at family loyalty, the strict bounds of medical privacy, and, what happens when old, deeply ingrained caregiving dynamics violently collide with a sibling's new romantic relationship.
It is a spectacular collision. I mean, the speed at which this deeply private family disagreement was transformed into a public referendum is just staggering.
Right.
You have thousands of strangers weighing in on a very sensitive question, which is, where exactly does necessary care end and where does unacceptable control begin?
Which is such a hard line to find. But before we really get into the weeds of that question, let's establish our ground rules for the deep dive.
Always a good idea.
Yeah. So we are operating entirely on Reddit mode today. That means we are exploring the original posters or, OP-specific version of events.
Right. We aren't private investigators verifying medical records or interviewing the other family members.
Exactly. We just have to take the narrative as it's presented to us. So according to the thread, OP is a 24-year-old male. His older brother is 27, and they're stuck in a situation that I think a lot of us can relate to on some level.
Oh, definitely.
Like, think about your own life for a second. Have you ever been part of a family or even just a tight-knit friend group where the unspoken rules suddenly shifted and it left everyone scrambling to figure out what their new role was supposed to be?
That phenomenon is the core of so many relational conflicts. We get incredibly comfortable in our roles, even the painful or stressful ones, because they are predictable.
Yeah, we like knowing what to expect.
Exactly. The human brain craves predictability. When someone changes the script, the immediate instinctual reaction from the rest of the group is almost always resistance.
Even if the change is a good thing.
Even if the change is ultimately a positive one. Yeah.
Well, OP gives us a very clear timeline of how their specific family script was written. According to his post, the situation begins with a massive life-altering event.
Okay, what happened?
So, when the older brother was 19 years old, he suffered an accident. And OP says this accident changed absolutely everything about the brother's life. But it also fundamentally altered the lives of their parents, their 22-year-old sister, and OP himself, who would have been around 16 at the time.
Wow, 16, that's so young.
Right. And for years following this accident, OP claims that he and his sister functioned as the primary caregivers for their brother.
We really need to pause and recognize the sheer weight of that context. Because if the brother is 27 now, and the accident happened when he was 19.
That's 8 years.
That is roughly 8 years of a deeply entrenched high-stakes dynamic. That is 8 years where the traditional sibling relationship, the bickering, the peer-to-peer equality, was entirely suspended.
Yeah, it was just gone.
It was replaced with a caregiving hierarchy where OP and the sister were essentially responsible for this young man's well-being.
Which is a huge chunk of your formative early 20s spent managing someone else's survival.
Absolutely.
You're supposed to be figuring out your own life, your career, your dating life, but instead, you were just hyper-focused on your brother. But OP tells us a major shift has occurred, and it's supposedly a joyous one.
Okay, a positive shift.
Yeah, OP claims that as the years have passed, the brother has mostly recovered. He has recovered to the point where he can live entirely on his own and function, in OP's exact words, almost like anybody else.
That's incredible.
It is. OP even notes that the whole family is incredibly proud of how far he's come, and they are thrilled to see him back to his old self again.
I mean, on paper, it sounds like the ultimate medical and family success story. The acute crisis has passed.
Right.
But the psychological aftermath of that years-long crisis is exactly what sets the trap for this entire conflict. The physical healing outpaced the emotional adjustment.
Oh, that makes so much sense. I think I understand the mechanics of this because it reminds me of a specific scenario.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's like being unexpectedly drafted as a co-pilot during a mid-air emergency. You are just a passenger, maybe a teenager in this case, but suddenly you have to take the controls to literally save the plane.
Right, you're just thrust into it.
Exactly. You're white-knuckling that steering yoke for hours, totally terrified but keeping everyone alive. But what happens when the emergency is finally over, the plane is steady, and the actual pilot says, "Thanks, I've got it from here. I want to fly solo again."
You don't want to let go.
Your hands are practically cramped around the controls. Relinquishing that emergency control has to be incredibly disorienting.
That captures the psychological mechanism perfectly. It comes down to relational muscle memory. While the brother's physical recovery has clearly happened, the family system is still functionally wired for surveillance and management.
Wired for surveillance, wow.
Yeah. When you act as a primary caregiver for that long, your brain trains itself to anticipate disaster at every turn. You track medications, you monitor symptoms, you manage environmental risks. That hypervigilance is what keeps the vulnerable person alive.
But I imagine there's no magical reset button for the nervous system once the person gets better.
Precisely. Just like someone might instinctively flinch at a sudden loud noise if they've been in a high-stress environment, a former caregiver's brain is literally wired to anticipate a medical crisis.
Even if the brother is just making breakfast or going to the grocery store.
Exactly. The caregiver's hypervigilance doesn't automatically switch off just because the doctor says the patient is stable. The family is still vibrating at the frequency of an emergency, even though the brother has moved on to a baseline level of normalcy.
Man, that sounds exhausting. And that hypervigilance is probably harmless enough when the brother is just living alone in his apartment. But the real stress test for this shifting family dynamic arrives the moment a third party enters the picture.
Ah, the romantic partner.
Yes. Specifically, a new boyfriend. OP tells us the brother has a new boyfriend who is 28 years old, and they've been dating for about 3 months.
Oh.
And OP describes this new guy in absolutely glowing terms. He calls him the sweetest, kindest, most upfront person on the face of the planet.
It is always highly revealing when a narrator goes out of their way to establish the absolute moral purity of a third party.
You think it's intentional?
Oh, absolutely. In these types of crowdsourced conflicts, overly praising a newcomer usually serves as a rhetorical device to justify the narrator's upcoming actions.
Well, OP definitely gives us a very specific virtue to focus on. According to the thread, the boyfriend is very open and honest about his own past hardships.
Okay, setting up the honesty angle.
Exactly. OP claims the boyfriend constantly talks about how honesty is the most vital part of his healing process. Because of this deeply held value, OP just assumes that his brother has already disclosed the disability to this new, super honest partner.
But he hasn't, has he?
Nope. OP officially meets the boyfriend at the 3-month mark, and OP says it becomes blazingly obvious to both him and his sister that the brother has never mentioned it. The disability is a total guarded secret.
And suddenly that dormant caregiver instinct flares up.
Right.
OP's brain perceives a massive risk. It might not be a medical risk this time, but it is a perceived risk to the relationship. A risk to this kind new boyfriend, and perhaps most importantly, a risk to the brother's moral standing in the eyes of his family.
So OP rates that he wants to step in immediately. He wants to pull boyfriend aside and just lay it all out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but the sister, who, let's remember, was also in the exact same caregiving trenches for 8 years, she advises OP to wait.
Good advice.
She tells him to step back and let the brother tell his boyfriend in his own time. But OP notes, quite ominously in the post, that time never seemed to come.
Ah.
So I'm struggling with the power dynamic here. On the surface, OP looks like they're playing the hero. The boyfriend values honesty, and the brother is withholding a major truth.
That's how OP frames it, yes.
Right. But looking at OP's history of managing the brother's life, how much of this panic is genuinely about protecting this new guy's right to informed consent? And how much is just OP enforcing their old authority?
It is the defining tension of the entire case. We are looking at profound clash of competing rights.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. On one side of the ledger, you have the brother's fundamental right to medical privacy. He's an adult. He gets to control the narrative of his own body, his own trauma, and his own timeline of disclosure.
It's his story.
Exactly. It is his story to distribute as he sees fit. On the other side, OP is heavily elevating the boyfriend's right to informed consent in a romantic relationship.
Which is also important.
It is. The underlying argument OP is making is that you cannot truly consent to a serious long-term partnership if a massive life-altering piece of the other person's reality is being actively hidden from you, especially after a quarter of a year of dating.
Yeah, 3 months is definitely that gray area. It isn't just a casual coffee date anymore, but you also aren't signing a mortgage together.
Right.
Feelings are deeply involved, and expectations for the future are being set. If honesty truly is the boyfriend's core value for his own trauma healing, keeping this secret feels like a ticking time bomb.
It does.
I can almost understand OP watching this metaphorical car crash in slow motion. The agony of being a bystander when you were used to being the fixer must have been overwhelming.
You can certainly understand the agony. When you have been the general manager of someone's life, being demoted to a silent spectator who just has to watch them potentially make a massive mistake is incredibly painful.
Yeah.
But we still have to question the motivation. Is OP genuinely acting as a neutral moral arbiter for the universe?
Yeah.
Simply trying to right a wrong for a stranger?
Or
Or is OP deeply, perhaps subconsciously, uncomfortable with the fact that there is now a significant part of the brother's life, his intimate romantic life, and the sharing of his medical reality that OP no longer has VIP access to?
oof, it's a sharp way to put it. Well, this philosophical debate over honesty versus privacy didn't stay abstract for OP. The agony of waiting pushed him to a breaking point where he bypassed his brother entirely.
Oh, no.
Yep. Ignoring the sister's direct advice, OP takes it upon himself to disclose the disability directly to the boyfriend.
The absolute nuclear option.
It really is. And the fallout is instantaneous. According to OP, the family immediately turns on him.
I'm not surprised.
The boundary that OP thought he was fiercely protecting, this boundary of honesty and safeguarding the boyfriend from deception, is viewed by literally everyone else in the family as crossing a massive, unforgivable line.
Wow.
And OP writes that he is totally baffled. He genuinely thought he was doing the right thing for everyone involved.
It is a phenomenal miscalculation of how boundaries actually work in adult relationships.
Stripping his agency, I mean, that's a harsh way to look at it when OP probably just thought he was passing along a necessary message.
It is harsh, but it's accurate.
But I see the point. It's not about the message itself, it's about who has the right to hit send. OP took away the brother's right to manage his own disclosure.
Exactly, because true adult autonomy is a very messy concept.
Well,
For years, OP was completely accustomed to having total, unfiltered access to the brother's medical reality.
yeah.
It wasn't just a part of OP's life. Managing that information was likely the central organizing principle of OP's entire identity.
That's a great point.
The moment OP felt locked out of the brother's private relationship, OP felt an intolerable loss of control. By telling the boyfriend the secret, OP unilaterally decided that his judgment was vastly superior to his 27-year-old brother's judgment.
Wow. We've all had that moment where we realize a younger sibling or a friend doesn't need our advice anymore, and it stings. You want to jump in and fix their problems, but OP took that sting to the absolute extreme.
Because what OP failed to realize is that autonomy doesn't just mean the freedom to make good, healthy, universally approved choices.
What else does it mean?
Autonomy is the absolute right to make bad choices. It is a right to procrastinate, to be messy, to keep ill-advised secrets, and to face the natural consequences of your own actions.
Right. Freedom to fail.
Exactly. By stepping in to save the situation, OP treated an independent adult man like a child who simply couldn't be trusted to manage his own life. The line between care and control is definitively crossed the moment you override a competent adult's right to manage their own secrets.
So, OP brought this exact dilemma to Reddit to ask, "Am I the asshole?" And the jury did not hold back.
They never do.
The data on this thread is wild. The post garnered over 2,240 upvotes and nearly 400 comments. It became a massive public arena for debating this exact boundary between caregiving and overreach.
The comment section on these types of ethical dilemmas is always fascinating. The crowd rarely focuses on the surface-level etiquette of the situation.
What do they focus on?
Instead, they instinctively hunt for the hidden social rule that has been broken, and they judge based on that.
Let's read some of these verdicts, because the commenters do not mince words. The top comment, by a user named Jakaiba Bay, has over 3,700 upvotes. It simply says, YTA, which means, you're the asshole. What a huge violation of your brother's autonomy and privacy. Boom, direct hit.
It is entirely unequivocal. Notice the specific vocabulary chosen by that commenter: autonomy and privacy.
Yeah, heavy words.
They didn't say it was rude or bad manners. The crowd immediately elevated this from a sibling squabble to a civil rights issue on a micro level.
Then you have user Narwin189 with over 2,250 upvotes saying ESH, which in Reddit terms means everyone sucks here.
An ESH verdict.
Right. They write, you should not be sharing another person's medical info, acknowledging that maybe the brother was in the wrong for hiding it from his boyfriend, but OP still committed the cardinal sin of leaking someone else's medical data.
That is a highly nuanced take. The crowd is clearly capable of holding two conflicting truths at the same time.
Which are?
Keeping a major secret from a romantic partner is highly problematic, but weaponizing someone's medical history as an unauthorized third party is universally condemned.
Yeah. We also have user Relevant School 1586 pointing out that the brother's medical condition is for him alone to deal with.
Exactly.
But the comment that really grounds this whole debate comes from user Scouthawk. They brought their own lived experience to the thread, saying, as someone who's disabled myself, YTA, it wasn't your place.
That comment is absolutely vital. It pulls the conversation out of the realm of abstract ethical theory and grounds it in the lived everyday reality of disabled individuals.
Yeah.
People with disabilities constantly have to fight against this exact type of paternalism, against well-meaning family members or even society at large, deciding what is best for them without their explicit consent. OP's actions are a textbook example of that paternalism in action.
I have to push back on the internet's absolute consensus here, though.
Okay, play devil's advocate.
Look at user WittyMusician23, who asks a really provocative question in the thread. They say, is it critical that the bloke knows the details? Think about it from the boyfriend's perspective. Doesn't his right to informed consent matter at all in this equation?
Well,
I mean, if honesty is genuinely his core value for healing from his own trauma, and he is being lied to by omission for 3 straight months, didn't OP actually save him from investing more of his life into a relationship built on a complete fabrication?
yeah.
Why does the brother's privacy automatically trump the boyfriend's right to reality?
That is the strongest possible defense for OP's actions, and it highlights exactly why this case is so incredibly sticky. The boyfriend's right to the truth absolutely does matter.
Yeah, relationships require a foundation of reality. But the crowd ultimately decided that it is not OP's job to deliver that truth.
Because OP isn't the one dating him. The relationship is entirely between the brother and the boyfriend.
Precisely. Reddit overwhelmingly voted against OP because the crowd identified the ultimate hierarchy of social rules. Medical autonomy definitively trumps third-party intervention.
Always.
If you are not an active participant in the relationship, you do not get to dictate the terms or the timeline of medical disclosure, no matter how righteous or protective you feel.
That makes sense.
The internet recognized a very subtle distinction here. When we see valid boundary setting in these stories, it usually involves someone withdrawing a resource.
Like what?
Someone saying, I will no longer give you my money, my time, or my emotional labor while you lie. But OP wasn't protecting themselves from a burden or withdrawing a resource. OP was actively extracting information and exerting power over someone else's dynamic.
Wow.
The crowd recognized that OP didn't set a boundary. OP demolished the brother's boundary.
That distinction changes the entire math of the story. OP dressed up a need for control in the very convincing costume of care.
Perfectly said.
OP told themselves they were being the brave hero for the unsuspecting boyfriend, when in reality they probably just couldn't stand being out of the loop regarding the brother's life.
It forces us to look in the mirror. How often do we reframe our own desire to control this situation as just trying to be helpful?
It's a harsh reality check. Think about your own relationships as you digest OP's story. Have you ever struggled to let go of an old role you played in someone's life?
Right, like maybe you were the fiercely protective older sibling.
Or the problem-solving friend who always had the answers? Or the parent who knew exactly how to manage every crisis? How do you recognize the exact moment your help morphs into control?
It's rarely obvious.
Because as we've seen with OP, that transition is usually completely invisible to the person doing it until the whole dynamic explodes in their face.
The takeaways from this deep dive are quite stark. First, caregiving, in whatever form it takes, requires a conscious exit strategy.
Definitely.
If your identity becomes entirely wrapped up in managing someone else's crisis, you will inevitably become the crisis when they eventually get better.
And second, true autonomy means letting people manage their own secrets, even if they are managing them poorly.
Yes.
Even if you have a front row seat to them making a massive mistake in their dating life. You have to let them fly the plane, even if they might stall the engine.
And finally, the public consensus from the internet's moral court is incredibly clear. Medical privacy is fiercely protected over unsolicited honesty. You cannot hijack someone's medical narrative under the guise of protecting a stranger.
Before we wrap up, let's look at the lingering what-ifs, because this story leaves us with a really uncomfortable final thought.
Consider the alternate timeline. OP bypassed the brother, told the boyfriend, and became the villain of the family. But let us imagine OP actually listened to this sister and stayed perfectly quiet.
Okay, so OP says nothing.
Right. The 3-month mark turns into 6 months. 6 months turns into a year. They move in together. And eventually, the truth about the disability comes out. And the boyfriend is utterly devastated by a year of deception. The relationship implodes.
That is the exact nightmare scenario OP was trying to prevent.
Exactly. So the unresolved tension we have to sit with is this. If the brother's silence did eventually blow up his relationship with this wonderful boyfriend, does that retroactively make OP right to have worried?
Oh, that's heavy.
Or does it simply prove that part of being a fully recovered autonomous adult is having the absolute freedom to fail and to break your own heart entirely on your own terms?
Does the freedom to fail include breaking your own heart on your own terms? That is something that's going to stick with me. Thank you so much for exploring this incredibly complex family dynamic with us today, and thank you to everyone listening for joining our deep dive. We'll catch you next time as we unpack another fascinating story.